All right. Welcome back to the dojo of gain once again after three failed live streams. Hopefully this one doesn't fail. My camera disconnected on the first one. It's 2 minutes long. And my camera fell over and then it was upside down. I don't know. I'm having bad luck, but hopefully this one goes good. Let's get into it. Let's see what happens with Piers Morgan and Tristian Tate, how their conversation goes. And like I said before, just a warning, if they do mention the forbidden topic, I will have to cut the video because I've gotten in trouble for it before. If you don't know what the forbidden topic is, just use a bit of critical thinking and you will figure it out.
And then not train for an hour myself. I can't sit there drinking and relaxing and partying while he's on his laptop working.
Do you ever fight?
No, never. We never argue.
You never physically fight?
Well, we used to physically fight all the time. We're both professional athletes, so we used to beat each other up in the ring for sparring.
Who would win?
Oh, Andrew would win. I was good. I was the European champion at my peak, but Andrew was built for Andrews. I mean, see my broken nose? It leans this way. First time it was broken was by him, and it got weaker after that.
That's how you know Tristan's an honest guy. He straight out says Andrew would win. Most men are not willing to admit somebody beating them. Tristian just doesn't care. He's just honest, keeps it real. That's real confidence right there. When you can just keep it real, you don't have to boast. Boasting is not confidence. Boasting is basically masking insecurities. So when you're hyper confident, hyper arrogant, that's just masking insecurities. We can just admit when you do something wrong. That's real confidence. Something I got to work on too sometimes.
And I had it broken twice subsequently in kickboxing matches. But yeah, we are rivals in the way that we inspire each other to work better and to be better, but not rivals in any way that his success would upset me or my success would upset him.
When you were in jail together,
Yes.
so for a period of that 3 months, you were actually in the same cell, I think.
Indeed, for about half of it.
What did you talk about when it's just you and him and you're thinking we may never get out of here?
Lots of things. Books, religion, the case, obviously, explaining, trying to understand.
When you're in a cockroach-infested tiny cell together,
Yes.
you've gone from being the top G and his brother with your Bugattis, your cigars, the lifestyle, the women and so on, to literally nothing in a very degrading environment that you
Yes.
find yourself in. And you've got no idea how this plays out or how it ends, or even if you get out. I mean, that's a big moment.
Yeah, I guess it is a big moment, but I always knew that we were going to be okay. You know, even when I was separate from him, I wasn't worried that he was banging his head against the wall or self-harming or doing anything stupid. Again, he wasn't worried about me. We obviously weren't worried that the other brother, and I know you can't share in this conviction, I know he's not a criminal. I know he has no skeletons in his closet and no criminal past. He knows exactly the same about me. So we were very relaxed. I guess in jail I was more relaxed than I am now, because in prison I assumed that the prosecutor, whose job by the Romanian constitution, by the way, he's not a district attorney like in the United States where he is told he has to argue that you're guilty and that's it. The prosecutor's job actually here is to discern the truth of the situation. So I was sitting in jail relatively relaxing. Well, this is going to end any day now. I mean, human trafficking, this is stupid. It's not going to happen. Like, they're not going to sentence me to jail for this. It was only when I got out that I learned the true motivations behind this that made me actually more worried than I was in jail. So in jail, I was relatively relaxed. Trained every day, ate their horrible food, did my push-ups. It was all right. Mental break, no electronics.
People often say, and it's certainly true from people I've interviewed over the years, that you're a product of your environment, particularly of your parents.
Yes.
In a November 2011 Facebook post, your father, Emery, wrote that the eternal problem of the alpha male was protecting his flock of women. He said, "The times I struck a woman, brackets in passion, I never left a mark, no trace, hyper control, super control of a human animal. They loved me."
Okay, before we get into that quote, what Tristian was saying about him being relaxed in prison is true. Well, I don't have much experience in prison. I did I don't know, I was in there for like 4 hours, a holding cell. There's a guy next to me, he was panicking, he was screaming, and I was basically just sitting there meditating. So basically, what can keep you calm when you're in a stressful situation is your own capability, your own ability to relax your mind, your own ability to prevent yourself from panicking, right? You can be in a prison cell, you can be locked up and you can panic and you can feel despair, or you can use it as an opportunity to work out, an opportunity to meditate. I mean, you have nothing else to do, you're in a holding cell, you can meditate, you can do push-ups. If you're in an actual prison, You can read some books. You can think of something that you can do to make the best out of any situation, basically. That is basically what they're talking about when they're saying going to war with life is finding a way to defeat every situation and make the best out of every situation, even when the situation seems terrible. All right, let's get into what he's saying about his dad.
Still.
I've never heard that before in my life. I'm smiling, man, because I can imagine his voice saying it.
You can.
I can imagine his voice saying it. The only times I've struck a woman, in brackets, in passion. Have you ever struck a woman in passion, Piers?
No.
You haven't?
No.
Not a little spank?
Well,
Not once?
Let's keep this above board. But
I want to, Piers, but I'm saying, like, I understand how you're trying to phrase this.
No, I don't understand.
Again, my father is dead.
Piers Morgan has 100% spanked his wife in passion. I mean, Piers Morgan is not spanking. He's not having fun in the bedroom. His wife's going to be hella bored. There's no way that he doesn't do that. He's just trying to twist everything and make it bad. Or Tristian may be trying to cover it up and make it lighthearted. Either way, there's a little bit of both on each side. Neither side is black or white, like they say. Most things are gray.
No, I'm not trying to phrase it in any way. I'm just curious what you think he meant by that.
I honestly don't know. I mean, keep in mind, my father died when I was 27, and that post was written a long time ago. I've never heard it before. I've never seen it before.
But what kind of father was he in terms of the values he instilled in you and Andrew?
Oh, he was a wonderful man, and he was a very protective man over his family and the people he cared about. I mean, they got divorced many, many years ago, but even with his dying breath, he would have jumped in to fight 10 men to defend my mother and her honor. That's the kind of guy he was, super protective and super, involved in everyone he loves life, even if he was far away. The phone calls were constant, the emails were constant, and he held us very accountable as young men.
Andrew tweeted last year, my dad was a chess genius, CIA operative. My mother was a dinner lady. They had nothing in common. Dad said she fed you boys healthy meals every day, cleaned the house, and was largely quiet. I loved her very much. That's literally all men want.
Are you asking if that's an accurate description of my parents' relationship?
Yeah.
Perhaps, yeah. But my mother was a wonderful mother. See, I don't think.
But they split up.
Of course they did. But that does. Well,
so when he says that's literally all men want,
they split up way before I was old enough to understand marriage or sexual or male or female dynamics. By the way, so I can't even comment on their marriage. What I can comment on is how they were as parents. And what I will say is, I don't look back on my childhood raised in a council estate. On state benefits, I was free school lunches. I don't look back on that and think, oh, my mother was a terrible mother because we didn't have any money. Because I don't think it was my mother's job to, I guess, provide as much as my father was doing his best from the United States. But I will look back and say my mother was an absolutely wonderful mother. I had 3 square meals a day. She knew how to manage her finances, didn't smoke, didn't go out with her friends, made sure my clothes were always washed, knew how to mend things. She is.
How does she feel about the fact that both her boys are in this serious legal jeopardy?
Well, you have to understand, she's known us our entire lives, and you haven't. When I was 15, 16, 18, all my friends were selling drugs and breaking into cars. I was down at the kickboxing gym every single day. I would get into the kickboxing ring for 50 pounds after 8 weeks training, just because I found harmony in the discipline that sport gave me. I think kickboxing is largely responsible for keeping me from ever doing anything illegal. Never tried a drug in my life. Never broken a law in my life.
Never broken any law?
Speeding.
Right.
We're talking. I'm talking about serious crimes. And my mother's known that even at my most desperate and my most poor, I would come home to her and sleep on her couch for 6 months, as opposed to do anything illegal, and try to find an honest, good way of legal way at least of making money. So
is she worried about you, the situation you're in?
Well, she's not. She's worried about the situation, but she has no doubt in her mind that I haven't done any heinous things against women, especially for money, because it doesn't make sense that after going through what I've gone through and avoiding any legal problems, suddenly I'm worth hundreds of millions of dollars, and I decide that's the time to start trafficking.
You guys have preached a message of masculinity, and I'm all in favour of masculinity.
Great.
Many other people have categorised it as toxic masculinity because of the misogyny and so on. Do you feel that maybe you have collectively gone too far in the misogyny?
Okay. I can see what he's saying with Andrew. Right, with Andrew's old TikTok videos. like Andrew said, he says it's satire, which I actually do believe. I say crazy, ridiculous things with satire. If you look back on my older videos, I mean, back in the day, making videos on the internet wasn't considered such a serious thing. What you say on the internet wasn't considered so serious. It was considered satire, comical, say outrageous things, and be sort of like an alter ego of yourself. So I do believe that it could be satire, but I don't see Tate's connection to any sort of toxic behavior. Tristian seems like he's always been a gentleman. I mean, I might be wrong, but most of the things I've seen from Tristian, he's pretty laid back, pretty chill dude. I don't see the same things that you see from Andrew. So he's sort of putting them in one box as the same person. And also, a lot of the things that Piers Morgan is saying he's offended by when it comes to masculinity is because somebody told him to say it, because I can almost guarantee that he has the same dynamic in his marriage. And a lot of the things that are masculine are they're biological. They're built into all men. All men want to lead. All men want to protect. All men want to provide. They feel good when they provide. It brings them happiness and fulfillment when they're able to provide. It brings happiness and fulfillment when you're able to protect. It's super deep within the male psyche, within the male soul, to want to protect your wife, or want to protect a child, or protect your mother, protect your sister, even your younger brother or your friends. That's part of what being a man is, and there's nothing toxic about it. That's actually a very positive thing. So trying to twist it into something toxic makes no sense. I do see, like, women will have the delusional argument that they don't need to be protected by a man, but that's because these are women that live in first world countries where things are very safe, and they haven't really faced situations where they needed protection. But if something does go down, a woman is not going to be able to defend herself against a man if she thinks she can. That's just delusion. I'm sorry, ladies. You cannot do it. The only person that can protect you from a man is going to be another man. And if you're in a fire and big ass pieces of wood fall on you, a woman's not going to be able to lift that up. You're going to need the help of a man to get you out of there. This is what we are here for. We complement each other. There's a reason why there's two genders. It's not just all random. There's purpose, right? Like there is with every other species. Humans do not escape the purpose that they have as a biological species. We're still a biological species, even though we're able to communicate with words and conceptualize life. That doesn't change that we are a biological species and we have biological functions. And there's a reason why men are bigger and stronger than women generally, right? There are women who are bigger than men, but they're still not stronger than men. Even if they're very strong, they're like a powerlifting lady and they can deadlift 500 pounds, their male competition is still going to be stronger than them. Or if they were born as a man and their male version of them would still be stronger than they are. So, like, even if they're a genetic outlier, the male version of them is still stronger than the female version of the genetic outlier. It's the biological purpose. This is what we exist for. We exist to live with each other in harmony, the two genders. We need each other. The idea that we don't need each other is nonsense. It doesn't make any sense. It's not based on reality. It's based on people who live in first world countries with cushioned lives and in like middle class or upper class lives where they haven't really experienced life for real. And this is why they're saying their opinions. It's kind of it's just dumb. Like, there's some positive things about the internet that we're all able to share our opinions, but there's also negative things that our opinions that are really dumb are still considered a point of debate. I mean, certain things just don't deserve a debate. They're just dumb. But either way, I'm out here looking at it, so let's check it out.
Misogyny, and that has been, again, one of the reasons you find yourself in the problems you're in.
Well, again, when I say first,
the kind of alpha male
what have I
rhetoric.
Said, what have I said that's misogynistic?
No, I'm just asking you generally whether you feel that's part of the problem.
I don't think that's part of the problem. I don't think it is a problem at all. I think that when somebody has been speaking on the internet for a decade, you have to understand that, first of all, Lots and lots of content is produced, and it's very easy to cherry pick and to take things out of context.
Sure.
And number two, the man speaking on the internet 10 years ago is not the man sitting and being interviewed by you today. You know, who I was when I was 25, I fancied myself a bit of a dating coach, used to give people advice on how to meet women and how to pick. That's not how I live now. I'm 35, I'm not 25. You at 25, I'm sure we're very vastly different than you are today. So, you know, I don't think there's a problem with anything I've said, because I've never advocated for anything illegal. I've never advocated for any crime. I do not advocate for drugs. I do not advocate for violence. I do not advocate for any of these things. So if Andrew said that women can't drive as well as men once, like, it's very easy to jump on that and say this man is the world's biggest misogynist because he said X.
Look, I just think it's...
Okay, that's so true too. The idea that people are super responsible for things that they said 10 years ago, 7 years ago, and they have to apologize for it, and they have to be reminded of it. It's kind of ridiculous because everybody evolves with time. This is part of life. And if everybody had to answer for everything stupid that they did when they're 25, 22 years old, then everybody would be in big trouble. It's just the people that are online and people can look up what they've done, then they get in trouble for it. I mean, any man, I'm going to be 100 with you, almost any man, I say almost any man, because some men have strong religious beliefs and they're able to stay focused throughout life. But any man who is confident and capable when he's younger and doesn't have his priorities straight is going to play the game. He's going to play the field. He's going to do the F-boy stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like, I had my time where I was doing that, where I was going out to the club multiple times a week, picking up as many girls as I possibly could. I did it for a while. I did it from like 19 to 25, and now I've been married for 7 years, and I've only been with one woman for 7 years. So, I mean, it's all process of life. Now, is it a good way to do things? I don't necessarily think it's a good way to do things, because also women, when they're with a man, there's usually some sort of emotional connection to it. Men, not necessarily. So you're kind of playing with fire a bit. You're probably hurting some women. It's probably not worth it. I mean, you get a dopamine buzz when you do the deed, but then shortly after, you're looking for it again. So I would say the connection and everything is worth it, but obviously it's part of the male biology as well to want to do that. And a young guy who's not mature enough to be able to really analyze what's going on a deeper level, he's going to do that. That's perfectly normal. It's not misogynistic or evil or anything. It's part of growing from a boy to a man. It's part of the experience. The only men that never experience that are men that, unfortunately, maybe they're less attractive or they're not confident enough to approach women. That's it. I mean, I'm sure Piers Morgan went through it, or maybe not. Maybe he was a dork when he was younger. I don't know.
For me, when I look at all the rhetoric, the stuff that I find most problematic, to use the phrase of the buzz phrase of our era,
Absolutely.
is simply where I feel like if it strays into that misogyny, I think you let yourselves down. That you have a good message in many ways. You know, a lot of the stuff, notwithstanding the serious charges you're facing, and we'll have to see how that all plays out. And maybe you both are very different people to the ones you're claiming to be. We'll find out, right? But in terms of your general rhetoric, I find that constant running underpinning theme of misogyny and about where a woman's place should be, that is the problem in terms of the influence on young men. They shouldn't all be walking around thinking that a woman's place is only in the home serving their men. And that somehow their only thought process each day, women, should be, how do I please my man? Not, can I get a fulfilling job or any of those things? But no, you stay at home, self-improvement, make yourself look good, obey his instructions, all that kind of stuff.
But Andrew talking about the way that he wants his relationships to work.
He's entitled. He's entitled to what it. No,
advocating and forcing for the whole world to see things his way.
Yeah, but that's the delusion, because you can say he only wants that for himself, right? And by the way, he's allowed any relationship he wants. But when you pretend that when he says those things, they're not amplified to literally tens of millions of
Great, but here's why you're
impressionable
wrong.
young men,
But here's why you're wrong.
then you know that's not
No,
true.
well, here's why you're wrong, because you assume that Andrew Tate, for some reason, in this conversation, is the only influencer in the world and the only people,
Not at all.
people listen to. Because he's not at all.
No, it's
the internet.
But I'm going to tell you,
Tate-
he's one of the most influential.
Yeah, no, he absolutely is, and that's great.
And that's the part of his influence that I think is a potentially malevolent.
Great, and it's wonderful and good, and you don't have to like it. But let me tell you, every force has an equal and opposite force somewhere else. So on X, Elon has now legalized free speech on that platform. So there are differing opinions on every single aspect of life, including how you want to date women, what kind of music you should listen to, what kind of cars are good, what kind of whatever it is. So for every Andrew Tate out there, there's some feminist OnlyFans model who lives in Florida who makes rap music who's saying that men are nothing and men aren't shit. So the people who are listening to Andrew Tate aren't listening to Andrew Tate. They're listening to the internet as a whole. And I believe Andrew's message is, one, overwhelmingly positive, absolutely overwhelmingly positive, and I believe he's a very important mark on that spectrum of opinions that exist out there, because when you delete Andrew Tate, the mean average of people will drift down this toilet of degeneracy and become less like Andrew Tate. He's a professional athlete with a completely clean criminal record, by the way, who's massively financially successful, who's kind, who's generous. He runs his own charity. He's the best brother. He's the best father. He's the best uncle. He's an absolutely wonderful man, and I would love to see more men become like him. So I like his opinions, and I like the fact that he's out there.
Tristian Tate, thank you.
It's been a pleasure.
All right. So, what Piers Morgan is talking about as far as a woman's place, see, I'm not against a woman having a career. I'm not against a woman having dreams and aspirations. Of course, everybody should live life the way that they desire. Everybody has one life and they have to live it the way that they desire. But what isn't up for debate is that within a relationship with a man and a woman, the man does feel more comfortable being the head. He feels more comfortable being the leader. He feels more comfortable being in the basic masculine position, right? Now, as a woman, you can go into the relationship and force the masculine position and you can be the head of the man, but eventually that is going to cause problems because it's going against his nature, and eventually he's going to start to resent you. He's going to start to suffer. He suffers internally because it's who he is inside. Do you understand? Like, men strive for respect. Men strive for people to come to him when they need help. Like I said before, men like to protect. They like to provide. And yes, you do need protection. Like I said before, it's delusion to think that you can protect yourself from men, because the only people that can protect women and children from men are men. Like, it's common sense. So now, do women need men to provide for them anymore? Not really, because women are able to make plenty of money. Now, there's other ways you can go about making money. You go and do OnlyFans or something like this. Then men, when it comes to having a relationship with you, when it comes to you being a wife, they're not going to value you as much. And this isn't up for debate. I know people debate this all the time. There's channels dedicated to debating these type of topics, like, does body count matter, blah, blah, blah. This is another thing that is biologically programmed into men. They like to win challenges. So when a woman is a challenge, when a woman is specifically that man's woman, and he's no other man's woman, the man feels as if he's won something. He feels as if he has something of great value. And that is very important to the man. If it's a woman that's sharing her body online or has been with a huge number of men, this is automatically going to turn most men off, if not all men, eventually, right? Like, some men have been indoctrinated into accepting it and thinking it's cool, but there's still that biological element to it that eventually they will resent you, or they won't trust you, or there's something there, like, it's biologically into men. You can't debate it. And this wasn't even something that was a question of debate 10 years ago. 10 years ago it was common sense. I don't understand why now it's a question of debate. The problem is because people don't want to accept the truth. They want to create their own version of the truth in order to make things more fair or to make an ideal version of life. But life is not all fair. It's not all ideal. It's not all good. Life is difficult. It has challenges, and that's why life is worth living, because if life was all good and easy, then what would be the point of trying to achieve anything? I mean, life is a constant battle for self-improvement, a constant battle to be better than you were yesterday. And if you're not fighting that battle, you're just going to be worse than you were yesterday. I've said this plenty of times. There's no such thing as maintenance. You either get better or you get worse. You either practice something and improve it, or your skills diminish. That's it. Those are the only options you have. But I'm going to leave it there. I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you guys understand what I'm trying to say now. If I made anybody upset, it is what it is, because I'm just speaking the truth. This isn't my point of view. This isn't my opinion. This is how things are. This is how things always were. It wasn't discussed 10 years ago. I've traveled a lot of places. I've met a lot of different men all over the world. I'm a guy, so like my closest friends are men. I know how men think. It doesn't differ very much from one man to another. Now, like I said, some men, it may differ a bit, but eventually their biology will kick in. I mean, no man really wants a woman that has been with all the men. It's just like the most unattractive thing in the world to a man since the dawn of time. When a man thinks of his image of an ideal woman, he thinks of somebody who has class, who has dignity, who can bring light into his life, not, I don't know, just degeneracy and disgustingness. It's basically what a lot of this stuff that's going on now is. Like, what's her name? Sexy Red. She's disgusting. She's gross. Cardi B. These type of women are gross. They're not the type of woman that any man who's confident and who doesn't have mental health issues would want as a wife. It's just gross. It's the complete opposite of what the image of a woman is to a man with a good value system who has a good family. I mean, at the end of the day, most people want to eventually settle down and have more of a traditional life. You may think that you want to be degenerate, right? But eventually you're going to be in your 30s, you're going to be in your 40s, and your mind's going to start to change. Everybody changes with age. But all right, I said I was going to cut it off. I'm going to cut it off. Peace.